Hurricane Irma becomes Category 4 storm. South Florida remains in Hurricane Irma's path as the Category 4 storm continued to move west late Monday night. At 5 a.m. Tuesday, Irma had sustained winds of 150 miles per hour and was moving toward the Leeward Islands at 14 miles per hour. Hurricane Irma is stronger, said CBS 4 meteorologist Lissette Gonzalez. A monster hurricane. Irma is expected to become stronger in the next 2 days. According to the National Hurricane Center, the storm is expected to take a west-northwest turn on Tuesday night and will likely affect South Florida. Gov. Rick Scott declared a state of emergency by Monday afternoon. Now is the time to prepare, Gonzalez said. A tropical storm warning was issued for Dominca early Tuesday. Hurricane watches in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Vieques and Culebra were changed to hurricane warnings late Monday. The government of Antigua also upgraded the hurricane watch for the British Virgin Islands to a hurricane warning. Guadeloupe is under a hurricane watch. The storm is about 320 miles east of the Leeward Islands and hurricane force winds are extending 45 miles out from the storm center. As with previous advisories, the NHC warned that hurricane conditions are expected within the hurricane warning areas by Tuesday night. Hurricane Irma is a growing threat to the continental United States, with impacts possibly beginning in Florida later this week. Before that, Irma will bring dangerous conditions to the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, the Bahamas and Cuba. Below is everything we know about Irma right now, including its latest status, along with potential forecast impacts in the U.S. and the Caribbean islands. Irma's latest status, timing. The center of Irma is located just over 400 miles east of the Leeward Islands and is moving westward at about 13 miles per hour. Irma has strengthened to a Category 4 hurricane, and satellite imagery shows that it has become better organized in the past day with an eye now clearly evident. Additional strengthening is forecast during the next 48 hours. And it's not out of the question that Irma could briefly reach Category 5 status during that time. Low wind shear, increased mid-level moisture and ample oceanic heat content favor that Irma will remain a major hurricane, Category 3 or stronger, for the next several days, though some intensity fluctuations are likely at times. Latest news. Florida governor declares state of emergency ahead of possible Hurricane Irma strike. Hurricane warnings have been issued for portions of the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. This includes Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Nevis, Sauga, St. Eustatius, St. Martin, St. Martin, St. Barthélemy, Vieques, and Culebra. Additionally, both a hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning have been issued for Guadeloupe, and a tropical storm watch is in effect for Dominica. For the next 5 days, Irma will move west, then west-northwest on the south side of a ridge of high pressure called the Bermuda High, centered in the central Atlantic. Interactive map. Track Irma. By this weekend, Irma will begin to turn north in the direction of a departing southward dip in the jet stream that will set up in the eastern United States. Where that northward turn occurs will be critical for what impacts Irma may bring to parts of the southeastern United States. Here's a general overview of the timing from Irma into this weekend. By this weekend, Irma will begin to turn north in the direction of a departing southward dip in the jet stream that will set up in the eastern United States. Where that northward turn occurs will be critical for what impacts Irma may bring to parts of the southeastern United States. Here's a general overview of the timing for impacts from Irma into this weekend. Potential impact timing. Leeward Islands, late Tuesday to Wednesday. Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Wednesday to Thursday. Dominican Republic/Haiti, Thursday to Friday. Turks and Caicos, Thursday to Friday. Bahamas, Friday this weekend. Cuba, Friday this weekend. Southeast United States, this weekend into early next week, possibly as early as Friday in South Florida. U.S. Forecast. Watching Florida, Southeast closely. It is too soon to speculate on the specifics surrounding the U.S. threat from Irma, but the hurricane is forecast to remain powerful as it draws closer to Florida later this week. As mentioned before, The vast majority of the forecast guidance indicates Irma will begin to turn more to the north by this weekend. The strength and expansiveness of the Bermuda Azores high over the Atlantic Ocean and the timing, depth and location of a southward dip in the jet stream near the eastern U.S. will dictate where that northward turn occurs. Why the U.S. forecast is uncertain. For now, all residents along the southeast coast and eastern Gulf Coast, including Florida, Georgia and the Carolinas, should monitor the progress of Irma closely. The National Hurricane Center, NHC, said in its advisory Monday evening that the chances of Irma affecting parts of Florida later this week or this weekend are increasing. In addition, rough surf and dangerous boating conditions will exist throughout the southeastern U.S. coastline by late week. Destructive winds, storm surge, inundation, pounding surf and heavy rainfall could all be potential threats from Irma in the southeast U.S. Determining where those impacts will occur and how serious they may be is too early to determine. No matter what the future holds for Irma's path and intensity, the NHC advises, everyone in hurricane-prone areas should ensure that they have their hurricane plan in place, as we are now near the peak of the season. Forecast: Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, Cuba, Bahamas. Leeward Islands. Irma is expected to make its closest pass to the Leeward Islands late Tuesday through Wednesday and will likely be an intense hurricane at that time, possibly still a Category 4. Hurricane force winds, 74+ mph, are expected within the hurricane warning area of the Leeward Islands by Tuesday night, and tropical storm force winds, 39+ mph, are expected by late Tuesday. Preparations should be rushed to completion in the Leeward Islands at this time. The exact strength of the winds will be dependent on the path of Irma's circulation center near the Leeward Islands. Major wind damage can be expected if the eye wall of Irma cruises through the Leeward Islands, including St. Martin and Anguilla. Storm surge, flooding, high surf and rip currents will also be dangers, and heavy rain could contribute to flooding and mudslides, as well. The NHC says that a storm surge of 6 to 9 feet above normal tide levels is possible in the extreme northern Leeward Islands near and north of where the center tracks. Rainfall totals in the Leeward Islands may total 3 to 6 inches, with locally 10 inches in spots. Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Once again, the exact path of Irma's center will determine the strength of the winds and any storm surge impacts in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands starting Wednesday. Hurricane force winds, 74+ mph, are possible in the hurricane warning area by late Wednesday, with tropical storm force winds, 39+ mph, possible earlier in the day. High surf and dangerous rip currents will be impacts no matter where the center of Irma tracks in relation to the islands. The NHC says that a storm surge of 4 to 6 feet above normal tide levels is possible in the Virgin Islands, except St. Croix. Additionally, a storm surge of 2 to 4 feet is possible along the northern coast of Puerto Rico, along with a storm surge of 1 to 2 feet along the southern coast of Puerto Rico and St. Croix. Heavy rain bands are also likely to affect Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, which may result in flooding and mudslides. Rainfall may total 3 to 6 inches, with locally 10 inches in spots. Hispaniola, Turks, and Caicos, Bahamas and Cuba. Irma could pass near Hispaniola, the Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas and Cuba late this week into the weekend as a major hurricane. Residents and visitors in these areas should continue to monitor the progress of Irma and make preparations for a possible direct strike. It's too early to determine the extent of any impacts at this time. Follow the advice of local officials in the days ahead for instruction. Beware eye hurricanes. Check back with weather.com for updates on Irma through the week ahead. For the very latest, we will be updating our coverage of Irma frequently based on the latest forecast guidance for its future track and intensity. This is the first time the name Irma has been used for an Atlantic tropical storm or hurricane. Irma replaced the name Irene after it was retired for the damage it caused in the Bahamas and the U.S. during the 2011 hurricane season. San Juan, Puerto Rico. Hurricane Irma became a Category 4 storm Monday, according to the National Hurricane Center, which said preparations within the warning area should be rushed to completion. Tropical storm force winds are expected to arrive in the hurricane warning area by late Tuesday. Irma is expected to move near or over portions of the northern Leeward Islands as a dangerous major hurricane, accompanied by life-threatening wind as well as storm surge and rainfall, according to the NHC 11 p.m. ET advisory. The NHC said in its latest advisory that Hurricane Irma's maximum sustained winds remain at 140 miles per hour and is moving west at 13 miles per hour. NHC issued a hurricane warning for Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. It said that it's still too early to determine what direct impact Hurricane Irma might have on the continental United States. In Florida, State Gov. Rick Scott declared a state of emergency. He urged all Floridians to remain vigilant and stay alert to local weather and news, as well as visit flgitaplan.com to prepare. He declared the state of emergency for all Florida counties. In Florida, we always prepare for the worst and hope for the best, and while the exact path of Irma is not absolutely known at this time, we cannot afford to not be prepared, Scott said, CBS Miami reported. Elsewhere, workers in the Northeast Caribbean were clearing drains and pruning trees as authorities urged islanders to prepare for the storm. The possibility that the storm could eventually turn its wrath on the U.S. East Coast has officials of the American Red Cross concerned. They told CBS Raleigh, North Carolina, affiliate WNCN-TV the need for assistance in Texas in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey is still high, but the Red Cross focus and resources might shift toward North Carolina, based on what Irma does. We put a hold on sending volunteers from the Mid-Atlantic states, Red Cross Regional Executive Officer Barry Porter told WNCN-TV. There is still a lot of other states to send volunteers from, but because of this pending threat to Florida, Georgia, South, and North Carolina, we've asked those volunteers to hold, update their records, and help us here in the Carolinas if we need them. U.S. residents were urged to monitor the storm's progress in case it turns northward toward Florida, Georgia or the Carolinas. This hurricane has the potential to be a major event for the East Coast. It also has the potential to significantly strain FEMA and other governmental resources occurring so quickly on the heels of Harvey, Evan Myers, Chief Operating Officer of AccuWeather, said in a statement. Emergency officials warned that Irma could dump up to 10 inches of rain, unleash landslides and dangerous flash floods and generate waves of up to 23 feet as the storm draws closer. American Airlines announced flight cancellations Monday evening. The company added 2 flights that will depart prior to the storm's arrival, saying customers can contact our reservations team to be rebooked. In a statement, the company said, "Our Integrated Operations Center, IOC, in Fort Worth, Texas, continues to closely monitor the track of storm, and we expect to make additional changes to our schedule as the storm continues to track on a west-southwestward course." Meanwhile, a hurricane warning was issued for Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, Sauga, St. Eustatius, St. Martin and St. Barts. "We're looking at Irma as a very significant event," Ronald Jackson, Executive Director of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, said by phone. "I can't recall a tropical con developing that rapidly into a major hurricane prior to arriving in the Central Caribbean." In the Caribbean, Antigua and Anguilla shuttered schools on Monday, and government office closures were expected to follow. On the tiny island of Barbuda, hotel manager Andrea Christian closed down the Palm Tree guest house as Irma approached. She said she was not afraid even though it would be her first time facing a storm of that magnitude. "We can't do anything about it," Christian said by phone, adding that she had stocked up on food and water. "We just have to wait it out." Both Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands expect to receive 4 inches to 8 inches of rain and winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour with gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. Puerto Rico Gov. Ricardo Roslo warned of flooding and power outages. "It's no secret that the infrastructure of the Puerto Rico Power Authority is deteriorated," Roslo said. He activated the National Guard, canceled classes for Tuesday and declared a half-day of work. Meteorologist Roberto Garcia warned that Puerto Rico could experience hurricane-like conditions in the next 48 hours. Any deviation, which is still possible, could bring even more severe conditions to Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, Garcia said. The U.S. Virgin Islands said schools would reopen on Friday instead of Tuesday. In the Dominican Republic, Public Works Minister Gonzalo Castillo said workers there were also clearing away roadworks and cleaning out sewer drains, and that President Danilo Medina would meet with emergency agencies. One potential inhibitor of Irma maintaining its intensity would be if the hurricane's core interacts with land as it cruises westward near the Greater